We're on lesson 2 of chapter 7, which is box and whisker plots. First, we're going to make a box and whisker plot. Then we're going to compare box and whisker plots. This below here is a box and whisker plot. It's called that because it's a box with two little whiskers on the outside. It's used because it can represent data in a very visual way. I can look at this box and whisker plot and get a really good idea of what a data set is without even having to use any numbers. This box and whisker plot was created using this data set up here. For example, if you notice in the middle of the box and whisker plot, you'll see a line with a dot. That is the median of the data set. The median of this data set, if you figure that out from last lesson, that would be 21. Then we see at the edges of the boxes, we have a lower quartile, which is the left edge, and the upper quartile, which is the right edge. So if you're going to find the upper quartile is the median of the numbers above the median, meaning that these four numbers here are above the median. So if we find the median of those numbers by crossing out, and 26 and 28, add those together and divide by 2, that would be 27. And that's, you notice, right where the upper quartile is. Lower quartile, then, is the median of the numbers below the median. So if we're going to solve those ones, this would be these four numbers. Cross off 17 and 20. That leaves you 17 and 19. Add those together, divide by 2, and you'll be having 18. So then 18 becomes the lower quartile, or the left edge of the box. So the median's in the middle of the box, upper quartile right edge, lower quartile left edge. And then from there you have lines that point to the greatest value and the least value. The greatest value in this data set is 29, so that's why that's there. The least value is 17, so that fits right over here. All this list right here, put all down here into a box and whisker plot. Let's create one. So it says use the data to make a box and whisker plot. First, just like last lesson, we should order this into least to greatest. So I have 16, 19, another 19, 23, 24, 25, 31, 37, 42, 46, and then 47. So our first job of the box and whisker plot was to find that median, which is the middle of the data set. So if we're going to find that, we could do 16 goes with 47, 19 goes with 46, 19 with that 42, 23 with that 37, 24 goes with the 31, so then 25 becomes our median. So this is counting by 2's here, 22, 24, 26. So right in the middle of that, I'm going to place our line, which will be our median line. Now we need to find the upper quartile and lower quartile. Remember, the upper quartile is the median of the numbers above the median. So for upper quartile, we have 31, 47, 37, 46, which leaves us an upper quartile of 42. I see 42 right here, so we'll put that mark there. Then our lower quartile will be the median of the numbers below the median. So 16, 24, 19, 23. Here's 19. So here's 19 on that box. So now I have everything I need to make my box. I can connect all three. And there is my box of my box and whisker with the median in the middle. Now the last thing for me to do is put my whiskers on. Remember, the whiskers go out to the least value and then the greatest value, putting a point out there. So the least value was 16, which goes right here. The greatest value was 47, so that goes right here on the number line, because that's between 46 and 48. Then we can draw our whiskers on, and that'll be our box and whisker for this data set. Now we can compare box and whisker plots. It says the box and whisker plots below show the distribution of the number of fish caught per trip by two fishing charters. We have the reel-to-reel charters in blue, and we have the mud puppy charters in red. It asks us which fishing charter has a greater median. Remember, the median is that line that goes in the middle of the box and whisker plot. So we can tell pretty quickly which one has a greater median. It's going to be the blue one, the reel-to-reel charters. So we'll say reel-to-reel. Now it asks us which charter has the greater interquartile range. If you remember what range means the distance between the greatest to the least. And then now it's here is asking us for the quartile range, interquartile. That means the highest quartile to the lowest quartile. So highest quartile to the lowest. Well, the highest quartile for reel to reel was 60. The lower quartile for reel to reel looks to be about 32. So 60 minus 32 equals 28. So that's the range for that. Mud Puppy has 65 upper quartile. The lower quartile is about 48. 65 minus 48 equals 17. So it appears that reel to reel has a greater interquartile range. Now it asks us which charter appears to be more predictable in the number of fish that might be caught. Let's look at these two different charters. Reel to reel sometimes catches ones around 25 only. Then they have ones way up here by 80. And then their range looks very large, meaning that they often catch a small amount, but they catch a large amount often as well. Mud Puppy is much more compact here. You see that? The range isn't as big, and the interquartile range isn't as big, meaning that it's much more predictable. Sometimes they'll get 70, sometimes they'll get 40, but that's more predictable than 80 or 25. So we're going to say that this one is much more predictable, which would be the Mud Puppy charter.